Welcome back to WRPL. It's the podcast where we talk about all the things we were watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
How's it going, Steve?
It's going well, Ben. I've seen 3 movies this week.
Holy shit.
It's a new record for me. It's the first time I've seen 3 movies in a week, probably since my son was born.
And I saw 3 movies just on Thursday. Because I have that carefree bachelor lifestyle that is so rewarding. Well, we got our main topic is going to be late night with the devil. Steve didn't see Ghostbusters, so
sorry.
Oh well. Let's start with a roll.
13.
Okay.
Not bad, not bad. Show me the money. 6.
You are having the worst luck.
It's New Year.
Yeah, it's like 6, 5, 3. We had an 18, 11, a 3. You not doing so hot.
Let me just try another one for funsies.
Okay.
I had to get a bad practice one out. 9.
It's just an upside down 6. All right. Got a couple of things, mostly movies, but we had a bunch of trailers released this week, so let's rapid fire get that shit out of the way.
First off, let's go Acolyte, because you
care more about this than I care. Do. You don't. I think this looks pretty dope, but every Star Wars trailer that comes out looks pretty dope, and unfortunately, the majority of new Star Wars is not very good. So, gotta temper my expectations, but Andor was really fucking cool and really blows any Star Wars thing out of the water. So there's hope.
A new hope, you would say?
Maybe.
Yeah, I watched the trailer, and like you said, every time I watch a Star Wars trailer, I was like, looks dope. And then the reviews come out, and then I watch it, and I'm just disappointed. Everyone loves Andor. I just thought it was okay.
It's because you're a hater. You don't like Star Wars in general. So
no, that's not true. I like Star Wars. I can watch all these shows and
I'm pretty sure, like, last episode you said fuck Star Wars.
Well, yeah, fuck Star Wars. Like, they're not even trying anymore.
That's true.
But whatever. Anyway, I thought the trailer looked dope, but I have low expectations.
But did you see Star Wars gone woke again? There's women.
Skip. We don't have to do this every time. There was all this talk of, the great Jedi War. I'm not up on my Jedi lore, but everyone talked about, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to see all the Jedi, like, fighting big battles and stuff, and
or
not
just
be about the Skywalkers,
and,
Yeah. And so it seems like this is closer to the show that people are looking for. I don't know if there will be some sort of big Jedi versus Sith battle or whatever, but
I'm sure
at least it's doing something different.
Yeah, it's got to have a bunch.
But I also don't really care that much. I'll do the Andor thing where if, like, everyone comes out and say Acolyte is the shit, then maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah.
But until then, okay.
Next,
let's go with the Penguin.
Okay.
I just showed this to you. What do you think of it?
That's everything I expected a Penguin trailer to look like. Crime, quick cuts of lighters being flicked open, knives being flicked open, people getting punched in a very wet alleyway. It's pretty standard with a voiceover of Colin Farrell.
It's a pretty nothing trailer. It doesn't necessarily get me excited. I think it looks interesting. And you and I put Batman as the number one thing that came out that year. And
it's going to be, and they pushed the Batman another year. So now it's 2026.
So I'm interested in the show, but once again, this is the exact opposite, where it's just like of the Acolyte, where the trailer's not very good, but I'm still kind of interested.
Yeah. Because you care more about that world and you care more about Batman than you do any fucking Jedi.
Sure.
Which I would also say I care more about Batman than any Star Wars property.
All right, next up, we got the Beetlejuice trailer. Do you care? Is it too?
It's too far. It's been too long.
Too late. Yep.
You would think they would have hit this years ago, and maybe they did. And Tim Burton and Michael Keaton just said, "No, I don't want to go back to this." But I bet Michael Keaton never thought he would play Batman again, and then saw, wow, this dump truck full of money that they gave me certainly is making my life better. Oh, you want another one? Sure, let's do it. Beetlejuice, whatever.
It's showtime.
I'm okay with this, it's fine. I love Beetlejuice. And as long as the story's good and it's not just a rehash, I mean, and of course it probably is a rehash. Freaking Winona Ryder still has like the same haircut as when she was a kid. Mm-hmm. People grow up and they change and their styles change. Do you think every 60-year-old woman right now had their old lady haircut when they were teenagers? No. So I hate when it do.
Lydia Dietz is different than other girls.
Oh yeah, she is built different.
She's thinks about death and stuff.
I mean, I guess if you had the experiences she did, maybe you would really double down on your goth phase and make it a goth lifestyle. I like that the dad's dead. They had to write him out somehow. That guy, with his past, hasn't worked in many, many years. So probably good. But I find it weird that his funeral song is the Daylight Come and We Want to Go Home, sung with like a choir.
I thought that was just the trailer music. It wasn't.
No, you can see the kids saying it at the funeral, or at least that's how I remember.
I've probably forgotten.
But that was like a really fucked up moment for him. Everybody, all of his friends got possessed, and they did crazy dances, and shrimp monster hands attacked them. It just seems...
When I was a kid, that scene scared the shit out of me.
It's a scary movie.
Yeah.
It seems a little disrespectful. You remember that traumatizing moment that you had? Well, we're going to play it at your funeral. But I'm okay with this. It's fine. I'll see it, but I'm not too hyped.
Yeah. I enjoyed the trailer, I guess, but I'm also not hyped for the movie.
I'm surprised we even got a trailer. I thought it was not even starting filming yet.
Yeah. I mean, I like that the movie's called Beetlejuice, but it, like the only that just makes me go, well, now you have to do a third one, and you probably shouldn't even done the second one.
Yeah.
Like, let sleeping dead people lie,
I hope for the third one, they pull out the old script for the original Beetlejuice 2 called Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii. A script that Tim Burton made because they were kind of forcing him to do a sequel. And so we submitted this and they went, ooh, no, this is dumb. Maybe we just don't do this.
Yeah.
Now I want to see that movie. Let's do it. Get out of that stupid house and take my.
I can see him in sort of a fun, more livelier setting than this like small town in the middle of nowhere. Like put Beetlejuice in Los Angeles and let him take the place by storm, you know?
Do the Crocodile Dundee thing, you know?
There you go.
Beetlejuice in L.A.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it's great, but it's probably not going to be.
Probably not.
Probably not. Anyway, we got 2 more here. I'll save your favorite for last.
Okay.
We watched 2 House of the Dragon trailers.
Yeah.
Our Team Black, Team Green. It was a House of the Dragon trailer. There's dragons and swords and people being all pissy on the throne.
And with posh voices declaring how important they are and how everyone needs to kneel or die for them.
But
still cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a game
we really enjoyed last season.
Yeah, season 1 was so good, and I would expect us to do weekly recaps of that. I know where the show is going. It's going to the war, and I'm not super interested in that. I liked a lot of the infighting more, and I liked the time jumps, and I was hoping we would continue with that and not focus on just these characters, and we would get further down the line, but maybe they will. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, we have your favorite franchise of all time. And by favorite franchise, I just mean it has 2 of your favorite movies of all time, right? I know it has your favorite.
I totally forgot. I was like, oh shit, he's doing the thing that I do when I say I'm going to talk about Walking Dead and bringing up something you hate. But no, Alien Romulus. Fuck yeah.
The Alien Romulus trailer. I haven't seen all of the Alien movies. I didn't see...
What?
Yeah, I didn't see... What was the one?
Resurrection.
Covenant. I didn't see Covenant. I didn't see Resurrection.
Because I made you watch 3.
Yeah, I watched 1, 2, and 3, and then Prometheus, and that's it.
And then the AVPs?
And let's not count those.
I'm just wondering.
I saw the first AVP. I did not see the second AVP.
All right. I think I've seen it, same with Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I think I've seen the second AVP more just because every time I think about it, I forget how bad it is, or I question. Like, it wasn't that bad, right? Let me give it another rewatch. I bet it's better than I remember. No, it's not.
I remember I actively avoid all that stuff because that was horror movies, but I think I saw when I was like 14 or something like that. And I remember going, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The first
AVP,
it's like,
it's fine.
I know it's not a good movie, but I remember going like, that's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So what did you think about this trailer, man?
I mean, it's a starship, and it's got flashing lights. It's ominous.
Got jumping
face huggers, which is nice. I mean, they do burst through the glass as they're chasing her, and I mean, did the glass get weaker as time goes? Because Ripley was stuck in a medical bay and she couldn't break the glass even like with a gun because it was so thick. I'm just being stupid, nitpicky asshole. Oh,
okay. It's a different ship.
Yeah, it's a different ship. That's a medical bay, and that's just a window. Who knows? But this looks cool. I just want to see the alien in action because seeing the one in Covenant, it got me excited because it looked really scary. But when you see too much of a CG alien, it doesn't look so great. I want a guy in a suit, and I get it. We're past that in the world. We're never going to get a Godzilla in a suit again. We're never going to get an alien in a suit. So I'm excited to see what that looks like and if the effects are good and what the real plot of this is. Because I think it takes place between 1 and 2. Okay. So my whole glass breaking bullshit is pointless anyways. Hey, and maybe that's the thing. Hey, these face huggers broke through this glass. We got to really start enforcing this on all of our docks. So maybe it's a canon thing. You think there'll be a queen? Think there'll be like hordes coming across the mountains, or is this going to go back to just a few aliens?
I think it's going to try. My guess it's going to try and go back to its roots, but I could see it teasing like a big queen at the end, kind of thing. Like, oh, remember that?
I remember.
Well, speaking of breaking glass, what movie do you want to talk? Oh, wait, no. You have a movie that do you want to do your movie or do you want to do my movie?
Let's do...
My movie's a surprise, but it's not like anything you're going to care about.
Well, let me do some small stuff first then.
Oh, okay, great.
So, X-Men 97 came. Did you watch the first 2 episodes?
I have not, but I was talking with my wife yesterday. She was like, "Oh, X-Men." I guess she didn't realize it came out. She's like, "X-Men 97. I want to watch that." And I was like, "You do?" She's like, "Yeah, I like the cartoon. I think it looks cool." I was like, "I guess we're watching X-Men 97."
Awesome. Cool.
So we haven't started yet, but it's on our to-watch list.
Does she have a favorite character? Do you know? Did you ask?
We didn't talk that deep about it, but...
Why would you talk to your wife? That's weird. It's good. It's really good. I knew it was going to pick up where the last one left off. I didn't expect it to be so right there, right at the end.
I don't remember from the trailer. Is Nightcrawler in this?
Nightcrawler's not in this. He was never part of the team. He just showed up in an episode where they had to go, look, this mutant is a freak and he's ostracized by the town people, but he's such a good person and look, be loving and accepting and, add to the Mystique being his mom and Mystique being Rogue's mom and them being kind of half siblings or at least step siblings.
Nightcrawler's my favorite.
Nightcrawler's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's no Gambit though. Just the coolest fucking character. There's not a lot to Gambit. He is just cool. I mean, I started.
I wish I was just cool.
Yeah, that's all he really has. He has a cool power, charges things up. He has a bow staff. I was always like a Donatello kid, so I like the bow staff. And he was in love with Rogue, who was like my other favorite character. So I just liked him because he checked all the boxes. He doesn't do a whole lot in the show compared to say a Cyclops. But speaking of Cyclops. They finally make Cyclops cool. I've never been a big fan of Cyclops. I did stop reading comics when I was about 18, so I didn't maybe see Cyclops evolve into the character that he is now. He's a bit of an asshole. He was always the Superman, the good boy, the Boy Scout. But he's fucking cool, and that like dropping from a plane or falling from the sky and shooting his beam down so he braces or buffers his fall and lands in a superhero pose. He's in a fight and he's using his beam to push himself backwards out of the way of attacks. Things we haven't seen in any of the movies or cartoons before, and it's sweet.
Now, this is me going to be nitpicky. It seems like I can see that visual in my brain of him, like, let's say he's sitting on the ground, bad guy's got a big old hammer coming down his head, and he shoots between the guy's legs, and he slides himself back.
Yeah.
I can see that visual, but it just makes me think, like, oh, well, his head's going to come off of his neck.
No.
Because there's no way his neck has the strength to, like, take an energy beam and that pushes his entire body back.
It's all part of his power, you know?
I know. I'm just being, like I said, I'm being nitpicky, but it'd be funny if he goes to do that and just kind of just shoots his whole fucking head off.
Well, then it would have happened like the first time he used his powers.
Touche.
Because his optic blast, when he takes the visor off, is as strong as like a nuclear bomb. Not with the heat or the radiation or anything, but just the pure power of it, and he doesn't get blown back. I'm pretty sure it's probably like you hop up a little, or it's like the Blob when he activates his power. He kind of not sinks into the ground, but he's like locked to it, and you can't move him. I'm sure there's something where he could release his feet, kind of, so he can be pushed.
Yeah, like it builds in his eyes, but it really doesn't shoot out until it's like just becomes the light part, you know, so it doesn't really affect his body. Science.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
What else is cool that happens in X-Men? I mean, I don't want to spoil
don't spoil anything for me. But
they do a January 6th in the second episode, which, I mean, they don't call it that, obviously, but that's pretty great. Just the thing that I love about the original X-Men cartoon is it wasn't a mutant of the week. They did a lot of that, but there was ongoing stories that built to other things. Like Batman the Animated Series, even though everything did feel canon, they didn't always reference past episodes. And X-Men really did, and this is continuing with that. And I like where they're going with Storm and Rogue and, you know, Magneto being there. A couple of the voices I don't love. I don't love Magneto's voice, and I never really liked Wolverine's voice, but it's fine. That's nitpicky. And Rogue, okay, you don't have to keep track. One of her first lines in the original series was, "You look more scared than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs." That's her little southern idioms that she.
That's a great line.
That she uses. But in one episode, I think she used the cat metaphor like 3 times. Now you're like a cat in blankety blank blank blank. And so keep track when you watch it, because there's at least 3, and that's a bit much. Come on, think of a different animal, Rogue. Like that's all she knows.
Or just like use the same example, but it's a long-tailed cat. It's a long-tailed squirrel.
Oh, it's always rocking chairs.
It's always rocking chairs, yeah.
That'd be good. I got nothing else, since you don't want to talk about people complaining about wokeness and stuff like that. We'll move on.
So I watched a movie, a famous, considered top 100 greatest films of all time.
Oh.
And it was always on my to-watch list, and I never got around to it, so I was just like, you know what? Now's the time. I got nothing better to do. Let me watch this. I watched Roman Polanski's Chinatown. Did you ever see Chinatown?
No, I've never seen Chinatown.
Okay. So, for those who don't know, Chinatown is a detective story set in, like, the 1930s Los Angeles. Jack Nicholson.
30s, huh? I didn't think it was so far back. I assumed it was the 70s. I thought it was...
No, it's like the 20s or 30s.
Okay.
He is a private detective who, gets hired by some dame to spy on her husband, which leads to a murder that might be part of a cover-up that leads to bigger things, and he kind of gets in deep and uncovering corruption and stuff. The classic LA detective storyteller we've seen in movies like LA Confidential and that kind of stuff. I think this movie may have set the stage for a lot of movies to come in terms of this kind of style. There is some camera work that I really enjoyed in this movie, and Jack Nicholson's always great. He plays a good kind of douchebag in this,
but he's a good cop, right?
But he's a good guy, yeah. I mean, he might not be a good person per se, but he's not necessarily like framing people for murder or anything, because that's not really his gig. His gig is just to mostly his clients are people like finding people who are cheating on their husbands or wives or whatever, like that kind of stuff, or the occasional missing persons thing. But anyway, I don't think this movie's really that good.
Oh,
which might be a controversial opinion. Yeah. I see there's aspects of it where I'm like, okay, I can see why this is good, because I think for its time, like I said, there are shots in here that I think are really great. But I think it's just kind of a product of its time, where because I've seen maybe what this inspired and I've seen it done better, that this just kind of feels kind of simple and plain to me.
Okay. I've heard that from people when I show them, say, Pulp Fiction, and they go, it was all right. And like, you say that because you've seen a million movies since that have just taken everything from this.
Yeah, I don't think you can see Pulp Fiction when you're 30. You have to see it when you're 14 and go like, holy shit.
Yeah, this is cinema.
Yeah. It's your one of those first movies you see when you break into
Not everything's just Nutty Professor and Independence Day.
Yeah. But there's like old-timey fight scenes where it's just kind of like one open, like wide shot, and they're just kind of like wrestling almost, and like the swings just seem kind of lame. I think Mia Farrow's the lead love interest, and like I didn't really get their relationship. It just seems to happen like very quickly. You get to the end, and the movie's called Chinatown, and they mention like Jack Nicholson used to be a cop who worked in Chinatown, and there's like, oh, it reminds me of that thing that happened, and we don't talk about it or whatever. But you never find out what that thing is, unless I missed it when I was watching it. And then the whole but they're never in Chinatown in this movie until the last 3-4 minutes of this movie.
Really?
Yeah, and then the big sort of finale happens, and then you get that famous line at the end of the movie. It's like, come on, Jack, let's get out of here.
Jake, right?
Or
isn't it Jake?
I don't remember.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Yeah, it's Chinatown. And they walk away down the street and the credits roll. And then, like, the way it's delivered, it's a cool line, but at the same time, it's like, guys, we just fucking got here. We've never spent time here. We don't know, like, what makes Chinatown dangerous or what makes it weird or, like, what makes Chinatown special that you keep mentioning it throughout the movie, but you've never actually been to it in this movie. Like, maybe if you grew up in Los Angeles, Chinatown, or you knew what Chinatown meant in the 1930s or whatever, like, you would go, okay, I see why he would say that. But, like, what's the fucking big deal about Chinatown? It just didn't make sense.
Not a real film, bro, Steve.
I maybe I missed something. I need to do some research on this movie. But like I said, there's things I liked about it, but it's simple and didn't necessarily blow me away. And if someone knows the significance of what Chinatown means, let me know.
I haven't seen this. This isn't the one with the really cool car chase, right? That's French Connection, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you seen French Connection?
I own it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, okay. Have you seen Bullet?
No.
Okay. Because I want to watch both those because they have like crazy car chases, and people argue which one is the best of all time. But
I think my guess is you watch them now, you'd be like, I've seen this car chase. But at the time, you'd go like, oh, wow, that's really good for the 70s. But I wouldn't be surprised if you're just like, I don't get what all the hype's about.
Yeah.
But because I haven't seen them, I can't talk shit.
Okay. Let's talk Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This movie fucking sucks. It was bad.
When you told me you and Nick were excited to go see this, I was like,
I wouldn't say we were excited to see it. We were just seeing it because it's the new release.
Yeah, I feel like I remember you guys going like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it or something.
I mean, maybe when the first trailer came out, it was like
shit hard on the first Ghostbusters movie we watched,
or the last one.
Well, the last one, yeah.
Afterwards,
I was a little bit kinder to it, but I still didn't like it.
Yeah.
Now here we are, and
Ghostbusters is dead. There's one good movie in this entire franchise. They can't get it right. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it's not funny. I think I laughed at one joke, but it was more of a eye roll type of joke. I love Paul Rudd, but he's not giving you anything in this. And the plot is so boring. There's an evil thing inside a thing, and it gets released, and it's gonna make it snow and kill everyone. And Kumail Nanjiani's also there, and he's a fire master or firekeeper, and it's part like his grandma was holding this orb and keeping it safe because their family bloodline can keep this demon at bay. I don't know. It's stupid. I do like that it's not the end of the world sort of thing. I mean, yes, it's a big, scary thing that's happening, but it's not the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's not Gozer or anything like that. But the main problem, besides not being a funny comedy, is there's too many fucking people in this movie. You got the whole original cast. You have the new family, plus their friends Lucky and Podcast. They're back. And then you add Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt, who only has like one scene, but still, they just keep adding more and more and don't have anything for anybody to do. Finn Wolfhard just disappears in this movie for a big chunk. His whole thing is, I want to drive the Ecto-1. Not yet, young man, even though he says he's 18. And then Slimer's in the attic, and he's trying to get rid of Slimer. But that's like 2 scenes, and I can't even remember how they resolved it. I think Slimer just flies away. And then he's just gone. He's just missing. And then shows up for the big final battle. There's an implied lesbian romance between Little One and a ghost. Okay. That's part of the plot. You know, she's just fucking with her, trying to get her to do a thing so the bad guy could come out. I just wanted them struggling as Ghostbusters like the original, trying to make it work. And if you want more people like Kumail Nanjiani or Patton Oswalt, I would really love them recruiting. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think they did a recruiting thing in the Lady Ghostbusters. What was it called? Oh, just Ghostbusters 2016.
No, I mean, I think it was the same thing because in the first movie, you had Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray recruiting the other.
No, it was the 3. They had to put an ad out, and that's how they got Winston.
Right. Okay.
But it would be fun. You bring in a Seth Rogen and all these people auditioning. They get they have a funny line next, and then you flash forward. They're training the new crew. They're actually doing good, and you have the asshole from the first one trying to shut them down. Simple family stuff, but they just try to cram everything. Well, Bill Murray's back, so he's got to do something. And the secretary, whose name is escaping me, Annie Potts?
Sure.
That sounds right. She's got to be there too. And isn't it fun to see them all in their outfits again? It's not fun. I think the opening scene where they're chasing this dragon through the city is not bad. It's an actual action scene. But they never go into ghost rules like I have with horror movies. There's no rules. So if you look at the original ones, when someone dies, like in 2, you had 2 brothers who were put to death out of the electric chair, and now they're like crazy Muppet looking characters. They don't look like people. They're silly. The library ghost kind of looks like a woman, but then turns into a scary thing. Slimer, I'm assuming, was a person at some point, and now that he's dead, this is what he looks like.
A fat guy who ate himself to death and became
something like that.
So what's the dragon guy?
So what is the dragon? Is it the ghost of an actual dragon? They call it the Hell's Kitchen sewer dragon. Is this like a real thing that people think existed and now it died? It's like, what if there was a Bigfoot ghost out there? And they're fighting Bigfoot ghosts. It's so weird. And if there were rules of, it died and you can turn into what you want, or your anger, love, whatever it is that keeps you here, turns you into something else, like, okay, that's fine. But what is this ghost?
Well, yeah, but I mean, what exactly was Gozer? Because
Gozer's an interdimensional thing.
Right. But it's still could some of these things just be supernatural entities from...
Sure. They could, but they don't. But they don't go into that.
Yeah,
they don't explain. Well, it's not. We don't just. But
the dragon
ghosts.
Looked like. Well, either way,
looked like a dragon.
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying, did it look like a ghost dragon where it was like smoky or see through? I know it's in the trailer, but
it's blue and it's see through, everything.
So it's a ghost.
Yeah. But then the lesbian ghost is just a person. You could see through her. She's just a girl. So a little consistency would be nice.
Sure.
But no, this sucks. And poor Carrie Coons, she has nothing. She was a shitty mom in the first one. Like, she came off as not the greatest parent. She's not great in this either. They even have like a fun line where her daughter says, if you weren't a Spangler, you'd be answering our phones. Pretty much like, what the fuck do you bring to the table? But now, bad, pass. Stop it, knock it off. No more. And I know I was dumb at the end of the year when we were making our predictions and stuff. I said Dune 2 was going to be a big box office bomb. I didn't think people gave a shit. I was very, very wrong.
Yeah, you're bad at predictions.
I really am. I thought people would go, no. I liked the first one, but it was too weird and I don't give a shit. But it really took hold of pop culture. People love that shit. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire will be one of the biggest bombs of the year. There was 6 people in our theater, and we had a big theater. There was 10 times the amount of people in Late Night with the Devil than in Ghostbusters. Yeah. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, I mean, horror movies typically always do okay, at least. When I was at work today, we had a cop come in, and she was standing next to me, and she was like reading a magazine that we had, and it was like a Ghostbusters. You know how they put out a magazine? It's like, this is the new movie coming out. Blah, blah.
And here's all the history, and here's all the facts.
And she was telling me, she's like, oh, yeah, I'm probably going to go see Ghostbusters. And I was like, oh, you're a fan of the Ghostbusters? She's like, no, I haven't seen any Ghostbusters. She's like, and this is the one you're starting with?
Okay.
And so she was like asking me questions about it. She's like, so how many Ghostbusters movies are there? I was like, all right, well, there's like the 2 original, and then there's the lady one, and then this is the one you're going to see tonight is the sequel to the new. So there's 5 in total. And you're seeing the 5th one. I was like, you never saw the first one? And she's like, yeah, I saw the first one, but it was so long ago, I don't remember it. I was like, oh. And I didn't have the heart to tell her. I was like, you're probably going to have a bad time.
Yeah. Or maybe she would love it, because those are the type of people studios want. That just say, well, I'm going to the movies this weekend. I got to see something. I know that name. Yeah. Let's go see it.
Or at least go like, it was okay. Don't think much of it. She said I was like, do you watch movies? Like, what do you have a favorite one? She's like, no, I usually just fall asleep to like old stuff. And I was like, old stuff? Like, what do you mean? She's like, I just put on like Seinfeld or Golden Girls or something. No, Gilmore Girls. What she said. Seinfeld and Gilmore Girls, and I just fall asleep to like that crap. I was like, I mean, those aren't that old, but I guess to some degree. She was a relatively young officer. But either way, it was just a weird conversation. It's like, wow, you're starting with Ghostbusters 5?
Okay. I mean,
she's understand. Like, so what's it about? And she's like talking to me about, she's like reading the magazine. It's like, oh, it looks like in this one they're bringing back Ghost. I was like, okay, I guess. I don't even know how to begin to describe this franchise to you.
Yeah.
Where generally only 1 and 2 are considered good.
I would say just 1. Number 2 isn't all that good. But yeah, that's it. I don't want to ever think about that movie again. I gave it a D-, and I didn't get it an F because I think the bad guy, whose name escapes me, is kind of cool looking.
He's the Frozen Empire.
Yeah. He's pretty generic looking, but at least it's just not Gozer. It's not the dogs. Those
not
fucking
J.K. Simmons from the last one.
Oh, it was J.K. Simmons. That's right. And then Olivia Wilde was Gozer. I totally forgot those people were in that.
Yeah, but Steven remembers.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. You want to do Shogun now?
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of, how do you connect Ghostbusters to Ghostbusters to Shogun?
So, Ghostbusters had dead people. Shogun has a dead pheasant.
That's true. And lots of dead people under that landslide.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of dead people, let's talk about Shogun episode 5.
Yeah.
But also last time we talked, you hadn't watched 4 yet.
Yeah, I'm all caught up now.
Cool.
I have a correction from last week. I think last week we talked, and I mentioned to you there's like 7 books in this series, and you were like, oh, I thought this was a one and done.
Yeah.
So I looked into it.
Thank you for looking into it.
Oh, okay. So while there is multiple books in this series, I guess, or this Japan saga, they're broken up into like different time periods in Japan. Like one book takes place, I think, in like 1963.
Oh, okay.
So this is the only one that takes place in this time period. So this, I believe, will be the only time you see these characters.
Okay.
Now I can't say whether this show will be broken up into like 2 seasons or whatever to cover the entirety of the book. I don't think it is, though. I think this first season just covers that book. Okay. So if they make a second season of the show, I imagine it would be just totally made up and where these characters continue, based off of actual Japanese events during this time. But the other books in the series have nothing or very loose connections to the rest of the series.
Okay.
So this may just be a one and done season like you wanted.
Awesome. Let's see. What the fuck happened here? Oh, yes. The biggest surprise at the very beginning of the episode, her husband came back. He did not die.
I don't know why you thought he did.
Why wouldn't I? He was one dude against a whole army. And they even did I know if you don't see him die, it doesn't count. But they even did the respectful bow and everything. And then the fact that she slept with him, I thought, okay, this is why she slept with him. He's out of the way. And now we can do this thing. But nope. And I'm kind of glad he's not, because it just adds some excellent drama to the whole thing.
I fucking love this latest episode. Yeah. I know we didn't necessarily talk about episode 4 last time. Yeah. What was episode 4? 4 I really enjoyed as well. That was
4 was he was getting Fuji as his
housekeeper.
Yeah.
He was training the the artillery, and
the horses got blown up.
Oh my god! I've never seen those dudes and those horses popped like balloons.
Yeah, it was so good,
so gross.
And I was waiting for it because the whole time
on the floor, I was like, "Holy shit!"
There was no violence through the whole episode, and I'm looking at the timer. We got about 7 minutes left, and like, you know what? Something big's about to happen. I didn't think it was gonna be that, but it was fucking cool.
Yeah. Episode 4 was good, but episode 5 I really, really loved.
Yeah.
Because I think my favorite part of this show is one, how I change my opinion on which character I like the most, depending on the episode, and I like this. I like that Blackthorn is learning the language, but just enough, and there still can be communication issues. Yeah. And that's just like a natural, like, human thing, and because of those miscommunication things. And because of their difference in cultures, like, it has widely branching effects that like no one would necessarily expect coming.
Yeah.
Because you might meet someone you and I might go to New Zealand, and there might be a slight miscommunications because we have different words for cookies or whatever, and biscuit. That's an English thing. Sure. But you know what I mean?
There's things in culture where when you sit and you cross your legs, you have to like knee on knee so your foot faces down, whether you're a man or a woman, because having your foot up where someone can see the bottom of your foot is considered disrespectful. Sure. So it could be simple things like that.
But I just love those like little details and how that branches off and how it can cost someone their life. Yeah. Even because you didn't mean to, or but because you're a man, or you're a man with at least some modicum of power, people have to kill themselves if they disobey you, which is wild.
You make a ruckus in someone else's house, your life is forfeit if they want. This is the episode. I love this episode, but just shows as a great example of why I don't like this culture, of how ridiculous it is of, hey, don't touch this thing or you die. And then, well, we got to get rid of it, and I'm willing to sacrifice my life to get rid of the smelly bird. And it served a purpose where you frame him as being the spy. Okay, that works. But the just how, like Fuji, and I can't even remember the main girl's name.
Mariko.
Yeah.
Mariko.
Like, they're very friendly. But then because her husband beat the shit out of her, Fuji's like, get the fuck out of our house. How dare you bring this to it? And like, do you not have any fucking empathy for this woman? Don't you see what she's going through? Nope. You gotta follow these rules. And I hate it.
No, I love it. I think it's so interesting. It's this, like, these culture differences I find so interesting. It's the same reason why I find characters who are like super religious and stuff very interesting, because both these worlds I am not in the slightest. But that's why I like being in them, because this is my escape to these things and trying to understand how people, can think this way and why they think this way. And even though, and it's just, even in the U.S., there's people who have vastly different opinions and just all that stuff on that divides us. But it's like, it feels like you go to another culture like Japan, and this is an extreme, and we can all go, well, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing here, just on a smaller scale, where it's just like, there's a reason why certain people might do certain things, and you don't understand it, but that doesn't mean it's like crazy to them. But maybe you just don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It makes for great drama.
It makes for great drama.
For a really good show. It's just so frustrating. And I'm just there with John Blackthorne going like, you people are fucking nuts. Everything is so polite, but you're just constantly scheming and willing to sacrifice the lives of people who didn't do anything bad just because you said a thing and you're the man of the house. Ridiculous. and he wanted that fucking thing to rot just to make a meal?
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, they didn't eat it. Why didn't you get rid of the bird after that? Like, why is it still stinking up the place?
Yeah, I was slightly confused as to like how rotten did he need this thing to get?
Yeah, and what did he make? I've never heard of like Englishmen eating rotten food as some sort of local delicacy. I understand drying meat and things and salting stuff, but that was just a bird with feathers still on it.
Yeah, just trying to get that nice moldy flavor like cheese, I guess. I don't know. Pretty gross. Let's see. But back to the conversation. I feel like you have this scene where they're all having dinner together, and it's so adorable when Blackthorne's just like, I made stew, and he's trying to get these people to eat it. And it's just like, that smells fucking disgusting. Yeah. And I like Mariko in this scene, just like, she's interpreting for these two people who can't understand each other, and she's clearly not interpreting accurately what they say, because it's like, I'm going to tell you what he says, I'm going to tell you in a way so you don't punch him in the face,
or get yourself killed.
And that's her whole job, is like, I can't say what they're actually saying. My job is to make sure you got, like, she is the bridge between even warring just like the Portuguese and the English or whatever. It's just like, I need to make sure that everyone stays at peace, because one wrong word from me and we're all busting out our samurai swords. And it's just great. The Mariko actress, I think she's great. I hope this launches a career.
Big 180 from what you were saying.
I stand by Godzilla. She is horrendous in that. But I think she's great. I think Blackthorne's great. I think Hiroyuki Sanada, he's great in everything. He's always been great in everything. But my new favorite character, first two episodes, I'd probably say Toranaga was my favorite, just because I liked his big, like, I'm gonna change the game, and he's always scheming and he's always coming out on top. Like, I love that shit. And then the next two episodes, I think I'm kind of like Team Blackthorne. Like, he's a lot of fun. He's kind of mingling with the people. He's becoming friendly. I liked him, just learning new Japanese words, and people kind of like, oh yeah, this guy's all right. But now I'm Team Fuji. Fuji's my favorite character on the show. She is so fucking good in this episode. I loved last episode where she like took the guns from Blackthorne, but like pointed at the dudes and just like, get the fuck out of this house.
I don't want to be with this guy at all, but since it's my job, I will kill you for it.
Yeah, I love that shit, and I just thought
I did not think she would be an ongoing character.
I didn't think so either, but she is my favorite character on the show right now. I think she's great. I love everybody on the show. I was thinking today, if I have one complaint, I wish the show wasn't so fucking blue and gray. It just makes it just seems so dreary, and I know it's kind of a dreary show because it's all a bunch of unhappy people doing politics and war and backstabbing each other and stuff. But like, if anyone's ever played Ghost of Tsushima, and then just like, there's beautiful colors and cherry blossom trees in Japan and stuff, and maybe it's just like not the time of year, but they've been there for like months and months and months.
And he does even say like, wow, the climate here is just amazing.
Like can we see some like the beauty of Japan?
We get that one shot of the city, in the first episode.
But that's it. The city with like, fog and like dust going all over it. Like, let's get some beautiful gardens and stuff. Like, they're in the forest. Let's get some fucking green. It's just like a bluish green now. Anyway, that's my only real complaint, because the rest of the show I fucking love. What do you think of that landslide?
That had to have been... I imagine being John Blackthorne. You're from Europe. I don't think they get crazy earthquakes there. And maybe there's a couple of tremors here and there, but that had to have been the scariest thing ever. And I was talking to my roommate about this. I can't
imagine seeing something like that. That's like the gods are shifting the planet.
Yes. Like, I understand why people believed in a earth god or a mountain god, because how can that just happen? But imagine traveling across America for the first time and you see a tornado picking up shit and flinging it. That would blow your fucking mind. If you came from Europe, there's no tornadoes there. They would never know that this is even a possibility. And so for him to see everybody just get wiped out and the whole landscape just change in an instant, and then you see it like going into the city and taking people out, that was scary as shit.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
I thought it was very effective CGI, because there's some parts in the show where the CGI is just like, it's not bad, but it's doing its job. This, I thought, it looked great. It was scary as hell. And the whole time I just like, I can't imagine seeing this in person. Because like I've seen YouTube videos of landslides, but it always just seems so small, or like it kind of took out a couple buildings because they were on this cliffside. Like it was nothing like all that shocking. It was like, oh, that's crazy that happened. But this was like 5 fucking miles of just the planet moving, and it was, oh my god.
You should look up. I'm not sure where they're from. I think it's either South America or Russia, but they're like digging mines, and then something gets a little loose, and you see all these tiny little dots of vehicles, and you realize those are huge ass dump trucks, and the whole thing just gets wiped away because the sides have caved in and wiped everyone out. Scary shit.
Yeah. Anyway, great episode.
Good episode.
It's going to be a tough one to beat.
Yeah, 5 more.
Yep.
And then we're done. God, why can't they make more seasons? I'm just kidding. Let's get to our, what is it? The penultimate topic. Speaking of,
Well, in Shogun, they talked about the importance of death in their culture, and how their homes are built to be torn down and built again very quickly because life is ever changing, and the importance of these wood houses. Well, speaking of houses, we watched Roadhouse.
It's as good as I think we're gonna get, but yeah, we watched the new Roadhouse on Amazon Prime, directed by, was it Doug Liman?
Doug Liman, yep.
Lyman, yeah.
Lyman, sure.
Whatever. Starring Jake Gyllenhaal. We watched it on Thursday together. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Did you know that Jake Gyllenhaal and Patrick Swayze were in a movie together? So if people don't know, Roadhouse was a movie that had Patrick Swayze in way back in the day. Jake Gyllenhaal is playing that character in the new one. But they were actually in a movie together. Wow. And I didn't make this connection until after the fact.
Give me... Can you give me the year, roughly?
I would say 2001. Oof. Between 2000 and 2003. Somewhere in there. I want to say 2001.
The only 2 movies I can think of, which I don't remember Patrick Swayze being in, is The Day at...
no, it's not that.
The Day After Tomorrow and October Sky.
No. It was 2001, yes.
Because 2000, I think, was October Sky. So
this
2001.
This is an early Helen Halle. Do you want like other cast members?
Give me the first letter of the movie.
I think that might be too easy.
Oh, really?
Okay, I'll do it. D.
Oh, maybe not. Oh. Donnie Darko?
Yeah. Oh. Patrick Swayze was like the motivational speaker, right. And he was the pedophile pervert.
I haven't seen Donnie Darko in forever.
Yeah, and apparently he got a tattoo, or it was a fake tattoo, but a tattoo for his character to have that honored Patrick Swayze. He didn't show it off, though. He said, you got to watch the movie and freeze frame it, but I was like, oh, yeah. He was still around at that time.
It's just Patrick Swayze's clenched butt cheeks. So.
And, like, I forget, Drew Barrymore was in Donnie Darko. Like, Jenna Malone was in Donnie Darko.
I remember Jenna Malone in Donnie Darko. I don't remember.
It's like Seth Rogen's first role was in Donnie Darko. It's just like some asshole kid. But Anywho, we're not talking. We didn't see Donnie Darko. We saw Roadhouse. Did you like this Roadhouse, and how does it compare to original Roadhouse?
I did like this Roadhouse.
Yeah.
I'd say it's almost on par with the original Roadhouse, just in terms of like both of them aren't really good movies.
No,
but they're both fun movies.
Yeah.
I watched the original Roadhouse for the first time, I think around COVID times, maybe 2021. Because I think it was like that and the original Top Gun. I've never seen some of these 80s movies that were like classics. I'm like, all right, let me just give it a try. Oh, wait, no. I watched Roadhouse with you.
Yeah, I keep doing this.
I keep doing that. Sorry. Fuck.
It was, I'm pretty sure it was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, okay. Yeah. All my years is blended together now. Either way, Roadhouse, the original, was a lot of fun. Pretty awesome. I dug it. This one, I also dug. I think the action scenes were pretty well done. I thought there was some weird camera work.
Yeah, if you like whip pans, my God, this is the movie for you. Especially in the first half hour. It's someone else is talking, whip to them. Okay, someone else is talking, whip back, and it's a little nauseating.
Yeah, it's almost like you're watching the movie and then suddenly the person sitting next to you in the theater just slaps you in the face. That's kind of the camera work in this movie at times.
Yeah. And you know the scene in Guardians 3 when they're fighting in that hallway and the camera's low and it's swinging around everyone? That's what a lot of the fight scenes felt like. Multiple takes stitched together with CG, and it's like being on like a teacup ride or something. You're just spinning around the whole time.
Yeah. But at least it's not heavily edited in terms of you're not super.
It's not Bourne editing.
Yeah, you can always see what's going on.
Wait, didn't he direct Bourne?
No, Paul Greengrass directed Bourne.
Wait, but it wasn't there was a director for the first Bourne, and then Greengrass took over for the rest.
Oh,
wasn't that?
Was it?
I'm pretty sure it's like.
I'm going to say it's Joe Johnson.
Your internet down here sucks.
Sorry.
Doug Lehman.
Oh, look at
that. For
the
first one.
Good job.
All right. I knew a thing.
It was about time.
Bound to happen.
Well, either way. Well, was the editing in the original Bourne Identity bad?
Yeah, it's really up close. It's shaky.
Because I feel like that's Greengrass's thing.
I mean, I've only seen all the Bourne movies one time, and they don't do anything for me.
I think that might just be action sequences in general at the time. Before, like, movies like The Raid came out, everyone's like, all right, well, we got to do long takes and
stuff. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. But regardless.
I think Jake Gyllenhaal seemed to be having a lot of fun. This movie is the perfect, like, dude movie in the sense that Jake Gyllenhaal's the kind of guy you want to be. Obviously not, broke and being essentially like a drifter per se. Yeah. But he's just like so calm, cool, and collected, and he can just beat anybody in a fight and just like make you feel good about getting beat.
He doesn't have to be the scariest, meanest guy because he knows his skill speaks for itself. And then you can add insult to injury by being very nice to these people as you break their arms.
Yeah. And it's just like, all right, guys, sorry about that. I'll take you to the hospital. And just like tries the guys he just beat up. Like, how cool is that? Yeah. But still kind of a dick where he's just like bump, but it's you go over a speed bump and they're like, oh god. This movie was actually pretty funny too.
Yeah, funnier than Ghostbusters, that's for sure.
Ghostbusters. But the one thing I want to talk about, which we've slightly talked about off air, this movie is weirdly sexual.
Yeah,
which, like. The original Roadhouse was because there was a bunch of nudity and you saw Swayze's butt and there was sex scenes and stuff. Yeah. There isn't sex scenes. There's no naked women.
The sex scenes have gone away from movies.
There's only one nude scene really of Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Where you just see his ass. But like the dialogue and the like eyes and
the fuck me eyes everyone's given him.
Everyone in this movie wants to have sex with Jake Gyllenhaal, even though what they're saying isn't inherently sexual. Just the way that they're like delivering the lines and the way they're looking at him, you're just like, does this dude want to have sex with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Hi, I brought you some breakfast before you came into work. I know it's only your second day, but I wanted to make you feel at home.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, lady.
The bar owner seemed like they could have been a thing. The nurse who was just like oh, I hate you. You're a bad person. But then 30 seconds later, it's just like, here's my number.
Yeah.
The bartender seemed like she was into him.
Even the other dudes.
Yeah. The bartender was probably the closest one to like see him naked in this movie because she like came over his house and he's just in his underwear. And then one of the bouncers seemed like kind of into him.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if like Conor McGregor and him as they were fighting kind of just gave each other like kiss on the lips just for funsies.
It's like UFC guys do when they square up.
Like this whole movie is like weirdly kind of sexual.
Yeah.
And it's odd. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't blame people being attracted to Jake Gyllenhaal because he's extremely ripped in this, painfully ripped. It does not look comfortable to be that strong. It looks like their flesh is going to rip at any moment, but at least he's not Zac Efron Iron Claw big. But after watching this, it made me think he'd be a good Batman. In the new Batman. I know he went out for it when Christian Bale was going out for it. It was like him, Heath Ledger, and Christian Bale. They are all going out for Batman. And they probably made the best choice. Christian Bale is probably the oldest of all of them and could handle the role. But now, I think in James Gunn's universe, Jake Gyllenhaal would make an excellent Batman and a fantastic Bruce Wayne.
I think he's too old for it.
Well, they're doing the older Batman.
Sure.
He already has Damian and everything, so he's been doing it for a while. So I think that works.
Okay, well, I was going to say, if this was maybe even 10 years ago, like when he's still in... Because I think he's in his 40s now.
Yeah. But also
I could see Jake Gyllenhaal being Nightwing.
I mean, that's a... If it happened 10 years ago, he'd be a good Nightwing.
That's
now,
what I'm saying.
He's too... Oh, I thought you were saying not Batman now, but Nightwing now.
I mean, I think even at his age, he has the personality, or at least like I think he could do that character justice, and I think he's got the body type for it.
A little more slight.
I just think like Jake Gyllenhaal needs to be younger. He's too old to do it, but I think he could have been a good Nightwing.
Okay.
I don't know if I buy him as Batman.
Okay.
I think he could do the intensity of Batman, but I don't know if he could do like the brooding sophistication of like Bruce Wayne and all. I think he's got too much charisma.
Okay. But, Batman's a jack of all trades, so...
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, sells everybody that he's a big, drunk, dumb, rich guy, and he's not Batman, so I think it would work.
So in this movie, we're introduced to the bookstore family.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of like your...
Oh, yeah, that's another person who wants to fuck him, this underage girl.
Oh, yeah. Because they have like of all the meet cutes that Jake Gyllenhaal has, because he has like 7 meet cutes in this movie, I think theirs is sort of the most...
typical,
close to like a rom-com meet cute.
Hey, I saw you just rolled into town.
Here's a free book, and then just like start
learn all about our little city.
Like if she was 5 years older, I'd be like, okay, she's a possible love interest in this movie. But she's so clearly a child. I was like, please don't. But they kind of bond, and it just feels like this bookshop should have been like attached to this bar or in the same sort of
plaza.
It's like just down the street. And their friendship is kind of like the catalyst that like kind of sets him off in this movie, in terms of just like, oh, they burned down the bookstore and you don't do that. You could have killed the family. And so that's kind of what sets him on this rampage. And it's just like, well, I know she was like nice to him, but were they really that close? Like, he's never really that close to anybody. Even his love interest, the nurse, like I never really buy their relationship. And then you find out that the nurse is actually the daughter of the corrupt police chief who works for the bad guy. So it's just like, okay, so she has a complicated relationship with men, and that's why she likes this bad boy guy. But it's like, wouldn't that be a reason for you to like date decent human beings and not psychos who murder people? Jake Gyllenhaal is a psycho who murders people.
He sure do.
Even though he only kills 2 people in this movie, and one of them was essentially like in the past.
Yes. Well, who's the other one then?
The guy at the pool who he throat punches.
Oh, yeah.
Because you find out that, this guy, Jake Gyllenhaal, everyone's afraid of him and he can't hold down a job or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he hates himself because he did this horrible thing back in the past. And you find out he was a UFC fighter who accidentally, or maybe not accidentally, killed a guy.
Yeah. His best friend.
His friend. But we never, that's another frustrating thing about this movie. We never see, like, what that was all about.
Yeah.
It's hinted at that he did it on purpose. We don't find out why.
Yeah. Was it because of a girl? Because he was asked to throw the fight? Anything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no, I see red and I just have to kill.
Yeah.
And if that was part of his character, okay, I get it. Work it into it. But it had to see. It seemed like it wasn't necessary. You could. I guess they needed him a reason to be kind of washed up, but I think this purposely killing of his friend seems a little like an odd choice.
Yeah. And, it gets the end, not the end, but, he's going on his like, hey, it takes a lot to get me angry, but when I do, I'm going to fuck shit up and there's not going to be anything to really stop me. And so he's kind of like going after all the bad guys. But even then, he only kills one thug who I don't even know if we ever actually see him do anything.
I don't know.
He's like the thug who's got the slick back hair, and he's talking to his boss like, maybe it's time we call you your dad. But I don't think we ever see him in an action sequence in this movie or whatever.
I don't think so.
It's just kind of like a douchebag who was there that Jake Gyllenhaal just happened to kill because he admitted to burning down the bookstore.
Well, he may have killed those people on that boat when he exploded that one boat. There was like...
that's true.
But we don't know. That's not confirmed.
Yeah, that's not confirmed. He does punch a guy who was on fire back into the water. But he may have been trying to save that
Exactly.
guy. But yeah, he kills that guy and then frames a cop or whatever and then, blows up the boat with people on it. But like you said, you never see anyone die. And then he gets the final two bad guys, and then Conor McGregor kills the boss, and then you think that Jake Gyllenhaal kills Conor McGregor, but then in a post or mid-credit scene, Conor McGregor is still alive and just walks out the door with his naked ass, doing the Conor McGregor thing. All these complaints about story and character, are they warranted? 1,000%. Did they make me dislike the movie? Not at all.
Not really.
I dug it. I'd watch it again. Same. I thought it was fun. I don't think I have anything else to say. If you're looking for something deep, Roadhouse isn't it.
It ain't it.
If you're looking for something well acted on Jake Gyllenhaal's part, sure. Everyone else's part, they could have really been played by anybody. You could have swapped genders with any of the characters. It wouldn't have had any effect.
Yep.
It was a perfectly adequately made movie. You have this character, and maybe it's set up for the sequel, but the main villain boss guy in this movie is like the young son of like this real bad dude who's in jail, and you only kind of get his voice for a second, but you never see the dad or like what his whole deal is. Like, is he going to come back in Roadhouse 2 and be like, you got my son killed, so now I'm coming after you? Is Jake Gyllenhaal still going to be working at a bar?
Yeah.
Because he leaves town.
Because he leaves,
Yeah. Is it just him bar hopping and now he's got to defend 2 bars? Or does he go back to the Roadhouse because they were like, it's going to end where it started. Jake or Dalton or whatever. You got to come back to the Roadhouse or we're going to kill Jessica Williams and whatever. It's like, all right, I guess I'm back for one last ride. Or,
I don't think we're getting a sequel because there was some issue with them thinking it was going to theaters and then getting dropped on Amazon, and Jake Gyllenhaal and Doug Lyman didn't quite get along. I doubt we'll get a sequel to this.
Okay.
But
it's probably the best, because I would say that I'm kind of surprised it went to Prime, because I could see this movie being in theaters for sure, and I think it could have made money.
I would think so.
I don't think it would have made a ton of money.
No.
But I think...
More than Ghostbusters.
More than Ghostbusters.
Well, my only thing that I want to say is no throat rip. That's pretty lame.
Yeah.
We get a cool death, or death fake out, but it seems pretty brutal, but it's no throat rip.
Yeah, if you're looking for any, like a bunch of Roadhouse references, there really isn't any, at least any that I clocked.
No.
I think what this movie really was, it was a movie about a bouncer who, gets in deep with the wrong crowd, and then they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get a big name star to be in this piece of shit. And we're going to slap a franchise we know. And they just basically turned it into a Roadhouse movie. It's Roadhouse by name only, really.
I'm sure every studio, they take out their big book of properties and they flip through it and like, did we do another Marley and Me? No, okay. Jack the Giant Slayer? No, nobody gave a shit about Roadhouse. Okay, I guess it's been long enough. Fuck it, do it. And then next year, they'll open that book again and go, Jack the Giant Slayer? I think it's been long enough.
Spider-Man 2, it's been 3 years.
All right, let's get to our main topic. The small release of this week, but probably I would not be surprised if it is in the number one slot.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't only had 2 showtimes at our theater, but it wasn't even playing at our theater scheduled a week ago. Mm-hmm. But they expanded to multiple. I was going to drive to neighboring state and see it. It was like 40 minutes away. Uh-huh. So thank God it came to our theater. But Late Night with the Devil, starring
you're not going to be able to get his last name.
David Dastmalchian.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I know that guy. No one else in the theater. No one else in the movie is known to me.
Yeah,
I looked them all up. They all have pretty good careers. They've all been in a lot of stuff, but you don't really know them by name. Mm-hmm. Even his sidekick guy, with the worms. This is like his first movie. This is the only thing on his IMDb, and the only other person that I would say I kind of know is the debunking guy.
Yeah. He looks familiar, but I couldn't remember.
He was in the Matrix sequels where Smith goes into a human body.
That's him?
That's Bane, yeah, that's him.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. But he has a long list. That's way down on his IMDb. Wow. But that's him.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. So Late Night with the Devil is the story of, what's his name?
Jack.
Dalton?
No. Donnelly? Jack? No. Jack.
Oof.
Jack D.
David Dastmalchian is a talk show host who he's been trying to get to the top. He wants to beat Carson. It's the 70s, early 70s at the beginning of the movie, and late night is all the rage, but he can't crack it. And after
he's always number 2.
He's always number 2, and his ratings start to slip. His wife dies.
Jack Delroy.
Delroy, thank you. And everyone thinks it's time for him to throw in the towel, and he's coming back for a Halloween show, and he's gonna blow everyone's socks off because they are gonna do all these spooky things, and maybe this is what's gonna get him back on top. And wackiness ensues. So he's got a couple of guests. He has someone who does the John Edwards bullshit of, I'm feeling a pee.
All right, well, first, before we start this, what did you think about the opening scene that just seemed to go on forever?
Yeah, that first 8-10 minutes of
it was all.
Here's the backstory of everything.
Inside the music documentary thing,
and that's I'd say my biggest problem with this movie is it presents itself kind of like a found footage movie, kind of like a documentary, but it's not.
Yeah,
and it really should have just been played as a normal movie, because they say here's the unedited footage that was aired plus some behind the scenes things. Mm-hmm. Who the fuck is filming those behind the scenes shots? Nobody is. So
and if they weren't, it's like they're discussing private stuff that would ruin their show.
Yep. And the camera's right in their face.
The crew from The Office is back there.
Yeah. It's and they're doing reverse shot over people's shoulders. So you instantly don't buy this as something real and spooky. Yeah. And I think if they presented it as a found footage of this is what was aired, and then you have the narrator say, this is what we think happened behind the scenes,
a reenactment thing.
Yeah, and then it'd be reenactment, or it's still photos, and you hear there was a voice recording because someone was on a phone, something, or you just play it as a regular movie. Yeah. But yeah, that intro did go on a bit, but I think it was 100% necessary because the rest of the movie is just the show.
Yeah.
You can't talk about his secret society and too much about his wife and everything without it, but it is a bit long.
Yeah, it was a bit long, and it was, what sucks about it is it's just a huge exposition dump, which I hate more than anything. But at the same time, it's like, I got that exposition dump out of the way, so now the next hour and 15 minutes, you don't have to worry about exposition. Yep. You got all the pieces there, so I'll let it slide.
Because this movie's a tight 90. It's actually like a tight 86, I think.
Which is great.
Amazing.
Make more movies this long.
Please. And so he has 3 guests. Well, he had like a costume parade that gets canceled, and then a singer that also gets canceled.
For the 4th or 5th time.
Yeah. So it starts off with, his name is Christou.
Christou, yeah.
Yeah. Should be Christou. Christou is a terrible name, but he's that John Edwards type character who's just full of shit.
I'm getting a
yeah. And is talented.
I was just like, oh God, it's
this
the South Park episode.
But you needed it there, because when the real spooky stuff is happening and then it's happening to the fraud, it sells it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brings out the debunker, someone who is a hypnotist, a magician. He's done all these things before, but he has changed his ways and he's looking to debunk people. And this is based off of a real guy who did offer people like $1 million if you can do something supernatural and have it get proven. To this day has not been claimed, which is excellent.
He did shout out Ed Lorraine Warren from the Conjuring films.
That's true.
I thought that was kind of cool.
But he was saying like, oh, I went to the Amityville house and they were too scared to go, but they win. So is this just an alternate universe? I mean, it have to be, because like Johnny Carson's a real person, but Night Owls was never a show. Yeah. And this dude is a real piece of shit. But I get it.
He's you.
He is me. Yeah. Real piece of shit.
If
I was smart and I knew how to talk.
I think if you learned magic at a young age and then just got pissed off at like religious people claiming they saw the devil, you'd be like, you know what, I'm going to make it my career to fuck your day up.
Yeah. Like,
this guy is an angrier old man version of you, I think. This is who you could play in a movie, Ben.
Thank you.
And I say that as a compliment.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You piece of shit.
And he's instantly like throwing Christou under the bus of like, no, this didn't happen. But then suddenly Christou just like pukes up black goo everywhere. He's having trouble and they take him to the hospital. I think maybe my favorite little bit of just sound design is they go to a break, they come back, and they're saying, yeah, he's being rushed away and he's being taken care of. And then like you hear the ambulance in the background ever so softly, and he pauses, like realizing everybody can hear that this guy's being taken away. It's just a nice little touch. And then they bring out the big guns.
Yep.
Lady. I was in my head. What's her face from American Horror Story and all those?
Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson. I was calling her not Sarah Paulson. And his little buddy guy, I was like, that's not Paul F. Tompkins. They just very, very similar.
I totally see what you're saying, but yeah. I didn't think that, but now that you say it, I'm like, yeah.
So not Sarah Paulson brings
June
up
and Lily.
June and Lily. June is like a psychiatrist. She has a better name for it.
She's essentially like a paranormal psychiatrist. Let's say that. And
this little girl Lily was in a cult, and they decided to kill themselves, kind of Waco style, when the cops are coming after them. She was the only survivor, and she's been working with her and to get her back to normal, but she's able to bring this demon out of her called Abraxas. And
June says, we don't believe this is Abraxas. We believe this is a servant of Abraxas, who she has dubbed Mr. Wriggles.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Wriggles.
Wiggles or Wriggles?
It's Wriggles, yeah, okay. It's Wriggles. And then when they do a demonstration for it, some shit starts happening. Like she's floating, she's got scars on her face, her voice changes, and it really like spooks the shit out of everyone. And
it seems very, very real.
Very real. And then of course the debunker is like, well, let's do a playback and see. Oh, actually, no. He was trying to prove that no, this is all just hypnotism, and you all thought you saw this, and hypnotizes his little sidekick guy, makes him think worms are coming out of him, and they do a playback on that, and yeah, he hypnotized everyone. Like everyone in the studio, for the most part, was hypnotized for it. So then, when trying to debunk Lily's not exorcism, but possession, when they play it back, there's nothing hidden there. It actually happened.
let's backtrack for just 2
seconds. I'm like blowing through this movie.
You're good. It's just, so when the Christu goes up there, when he has his like episode where he kind of freaked, like he fails the first time, and then he's able to sort of guess the second time, and the third time when they're just, well, they ended after the second time, but then he kind of has an episode where his eyes roll back, and it seems like very intense and very different from the other stuff, because the other times it was just like, I'm getting a sense of this, but this was just like, oh my god, my brain's gonna explode. Does Minnie mean anything to anybody? And nobody says anything, but we find out that Minnie was actually Jack's pet name for his wife. So it's like, I think that spirit was trying to talk to me, and you kind of get the sense that like, oh, maybe Jack does kind of believe in this stuff, or he's starting to. And so then in the Lily's scary possession scene, she starts talking to Jack. It's like, Jack, we've met before. You know what you did, and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, oh, so Jack is, and Jack's kind of like, I don't know what this is. I don't think we've met before. And it's like, oh no, you remember me from the redwood trees or whatever. The Grove, yeah.
Because he's part of a secret society of rich pricks who go out and fuck each other in the woods and do blood sacrifices.
Yeah, there's some hints that the Grove is a secret cult that all the most powerful men in the world kind of are part of, and how they like keep their success. And when Lily speaks at a certain point, it sounds like his wife's voice, and he's just like, I think that was Minnie's voice. Like, what the fuck is going on? How's she doing that?
And then they do the playback.
And it's all there, and it's all
just standing right behind her husband.
Yeah, she. That's actually my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
is so when they're playing the footage back, there's like a quick edit thing in there, and he's just like, wait, pause that, and they go slowly back, and they go through it frame by frame. And they land on a frame where there's like a ghost standing behind Jack with his hand on his shoulder, and then it cuts to Jack, and you see that hand there, and then it cuts back, and now the ghost is gone. I don't know, it's just like really quick editing, but it was very effective, and I love that part.
Absolutely.
Because you don't even get like a good glimpse of it, but it's clear like that's a human shape.
Yeah, kind of looks like a Star Wars
which
Force
reminds
ghost.
Me, I don't know if you clocked it, because usually you're pretty good about this stuff. At the beginning of the movie, when it's going through all the footage and it's got like posters and stuff up, there's like a magazine that like Jack's on the cover of, and at the like many magazines do, they have little like word blurbs across it, and there's like Oscar's big night, blah blah blah, but then below that it said Hail Abraxas.
Yes.
Now it's just like, what the fuck is Hail Abraxas? And it comes back later. And
see, I just assumed when I saw that it was talking about some movie coming up called Hail Abraxas.
Yes. And there's another shot where Jack, I think, is like looking out of a curtain, but then there's another angle. It's like Jack's looking out of the curtain, but the TV in front of Jack is like the angle of like the camera shooting him. I'm not sure if I'm describing this right, but on the TV you see Jack like looking out at the audience. But I think that there's someone standing behind Jack on the TV, and it's very small. And I was like, I can't tell if that's the curtain or a person.
Yeah,
but I bet if you go back, it's going to be Jack's. So it's the opening of the movie had hints to what's to come.
Yeah, I bet there's tons of little Easter eggs that you'll find.
So that was kind of fun to see. It was like, oh, I see what's happening.
Yeah,
but anyway, now we're back to so after he plays back the footage, it seems very real. The crew is fucking freaked out.
People
the
are
audience
bailing.
is nervous. People are like, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But people want to see, what happens next. And Ben, what happens next?
Lily's face cracks open, and she shoots lightning at a bunch of people. Lightning strikes her, and then her face cracks open. She kills what was her name? Susan?
June. The sidekick gets his neck snapped.
Yeah.
June gets pulled up by the amulet that she's wearing,
or some sort of rosary. It was a special icon.
Yeah, that I guess she kind of uses.
And then it slits her throat.
Yeah.
And then the skeptic, and the funniest part is like, oh shit, this stuff is real. Kneels down and goes, I will do your bidding, whatever you say. I am all for it. And then gets melted.
And then we get Jack waking up kind of back in the studio, and
in previous scenes that we saw before in like a highlight reel.
Yeah, and like the audience is laughing, and he's just like, how did I get here? What the fuck is going on? And then it seems like he's kind of like jumping back in time a little bit, and like I thought, oh, like he died or like the demon came to collect, and this is going to be like his hell. It's just like living in this studio kind of thing. But we keep going back, and essentially we see like I guess kind of the ritual that he did in order to kind of bring about the stuff. Like you see him drink from a goblet that all these men are around, and there's like an owl mask. Yeah. It's just like really weird, kind of kind of giving you a backstory and kind of a dream sequence, kind of, but it's all taking place in the studio. It's not like you're seeing the actual past. And we get to him, and he sees his wife who is dying of cancer. She is, bald, like no hair on her body, and she looks shriveled and super weak, and she's asking him to kill him, to kill her, because she just wants the pain to go away. What did you make of this? Before we get to like the ending, what did you make of this scene? Because I couldn't tell if it was he killed her as a sacrifice to, because it kind of seemed like those were two separate incidents. Like in real life, did he kill her, or did he just kill her in this dream sequence?
He killed her in the dream sequence.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And because he was stabbing Lily, his brain made it think he was killing his wife, or the demon was making it.
Right. Yeah. I just mean like...
He didn't actually kill her. He allowed his wife to be taken because she had lung cancer and she wasn't a smoker. He knew his career was failing. He made the blood sacrifice to Abraxas in the Grove and said, I want fame, and was willing to let her die because of it.
Okay. I assumed that there was a connection between the wife and the like ritual stuff, but because they were at two separate places, I didn't quite get how that, at least in the context of the movie, they were in two separate places. I didn't quite get how they were connected, because I figured like, oh, well, since we didn't see her die, maybe he brought her to the Grove. He killed her because she was going to die anyway in order to get fame. But really it was just like, I drank the blood of a virgin or something like that at this party, and then I went home and just let my wife die.
Yeah, I think...
Or she died, and then I went to do the ritual because I had nothing left?
No, I think he went there, said, I need to salvage my career, and I'll do anything. And they said, okay, your wish is granted. He goes home, and then she gets the diagnosis. I have cancer.
Okay.
So then he has to kind of suffer through her whole dying, but he gets to be back on the air, and he's going to be known. He's going to be famous. But it's because of this horrific thing. Because, you don't make deals with the devil or any sort of demons, because they're always going to twist it on you. They're gonna do a wishmaster or a leprechaun on you, and you're going to want one thing, and they're going to...
Monkey paw stuff.
Exactly. So that's what I took from it.
Okay. Fair enough. That seems like a pretty fair interpretation. But we wake up. He didn't stab his wife. He stabbed Lily. Lily's dead. The camera pans out. All that stuff that happened before did happen. Lily did seemingly open up her skull and kill all these people, but he delivered the final blow on live television, assuming the cameras were still rolling. Who knows?
I would assume they would have cut away.
No one else was in the studio. Maybe all the cameras blew out. Yeah. But when the cops show up, because you do hear sirens in the distance, they're going to walk in and be like, oh my God, this guy killed all these people. Yeah. Because how else? None of these cops are going to believe that a ghost...
Yeah, but
it'd be hard to explain.
Like, how did that person melt? Oh, it must have been a light that fell from the ceiling.
He set him on fire. He broke this guy's neck all the way around. He choked this woman out. Yeah, whatever. That whole time that knife was on the table, ever since he put it back down, I was like, that little girl is going to pick it up and stab somebody in the eye. I was just waiting for it the entire time. It was Chekhov's knife the entire movie. It's like, why would you just leave a knife there? But anyway. Did we say what did you think of this movie? What did you think of this movie?
We didn't say. I love this movie.
I think this movie's awesome.
I think it's very, very good.
Now, let me say, I don't think people coming in will be scared by it. I don't think it's a particularly scary movie.
No, it's actually kind of goofy at times. Some of the deaths and horrors at the end are a little silly.
Part of what I think kind of sells the movie as like a 70s era movie is like the effects in this aren't great. Yeah. But it also lends itself to the movie because it kind of feels like it would fit.
It would have been made at that time.
You could almost believe this movie was made in the 70s or the 80s.
Yeah, Polka Dot Man wasn't in it.
Exactly. You mean Joker's thug
Joker's
one?
Thug, yeah. I remember seeing him in The Dark Knight and just going, damn, that guy is selling like quiet, crazy. Like he's on the verge of just exploding in laughter, but he's so scared at the same time. I'm like, this guy, there's something about him. Yeah. And then he just kept showing up in things. And it's like, that's the Dark Knight guy.
He's the, everyone used to say like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson's in everything.
Yeah.
You really don't see Samuel L. Jackson anymore.
Yeah.
This fucking guy's in everything.
He was in
Boogeyman, Dune, Suicide Squad, Dark Knight,
other
stuff. He's in everything.
Yeah. And he's just got one of those faces that is very recognizable.
Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah. He's got that terrible... He's bad in that. That's a bad accent. Yeah. Sorry, Dave.
But, so, now that the movie's over, we get to the ending. We knew some sort of twist was coming. As he was going to stab his wife, I was like, okay, he's stabbing Lily or a real person or whatever. I don't know if I necessarily would love it because I could see it being a thing of, if it turned out to be this ending in the theater, I'd go like, oh, I think it would have been better if this. Like, it could be one of those things where I'm never happy with the ending.
Sure.
Because I thought maybe the twist would be that moment he started hypnotizing the sidekick. He was like this whole thing was a hypnosis. Or like, you know, he wakes up and is like, oh, that was our show. Jack thought he did an entire show with all these crazy stuff that happened. But like, I thought like maybe something like that was going to happen.
That would piss me off. I was like, no, I was promised an interview with the devil or a late night with the devil. And it was just, it's all in your head. It's the same as it was all a dream. That would, I could see a studio note if they had a testing audience and they're like, oh, it gets a little gross and scary at the end. Can't we have it be more fun and a happy ending? And then them pitching that, but that's awful. Yeah. Don't like that.
I'm just saying the movie could have ended this bunch of different ways. I like the ending. I don't know. Could you have done something better? That's all I'm asking. Is there a version of this movie where it's like, maybe I'd like to see this instead of him just killing Lily?
Yeah.
Because my question is, like, was this whole thing part of the demon's plan from the Grove when he did this ritual or whatever? And it's like, we've met before. Like, did this demon know what was coming? Like, whose grand plan was this? So it's like, because we don't even know if he... I guess in the context of the movie, it seems like he's definitely going to be number one. Like, was this all going to, like, we're going to make you number one, but you're going to be number one for one day because all this horrible stuff happened. But, like, does horrible stuff happen to all the other men in the Grove? Or are a bunch of these men...
Maybe it just depends on what they ask for. Maybe some of them aren't asking for these things. But I would assume they're in this club because since they are the richest people, they probably got to that point because they've made sacrifices.
Yeah, I mean, and my other question for that is, so you have the demon who came from the Grove. Was the guy who Lily was under, was he a member of the Grove? Was he a defector?
Yeah.
Is this a totally separate thing? Or like do all demons work for Abraxas?
I'd say he was probably the Owlhead guy. He probably was part of the Grove. Or maybe he didn't die in the fire. And he also escaped. And then he started doing the same shit, but with rich and powerful people instead of impressionable young girls.
From the fire, it had only been 3 years. Because I think Lily got I think she was 16 when she got on the Jack show, but I think she was 13 when she was, or 10, so maybe it was 6 years, whatever.
I don't know. Demons, they're equal opportunity. I just want to know, like,
we're
demons.
Both cults worshiping essentially the same.
I think so.
And like, why did it seem like one was working more for the others than this one? Were they not doing the right blood sacrifices and orgies? Were the rich guys doing the better orgies and blood sacrifices? How did it work?
I think maybe the cult that died, we just don't know if any of their stuff worked. We're just not privy to that information. So maybe it was working the whole time.
There's just like some fun in-world stuff I'd like to know more about.
Sure.
Like, not that it necessarily hindered the movie. I'm just like, well, I'm curious. Like, what's going on with this group versus that group?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Just something to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, our friend Nick, I watched this with Nick and his girlfriend. They both seemed to just like, yeah, it was okay. They weren't really all that impressed with it. Like I said, I don't think it's going to really particularly scare anybody. This movie doesn't necessarily reinvent the wheel in any way. I think it's just really well executed in terms of like what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's, even though the story was kind of simple and straightforward, I thought everything they did with it was effective. So yeah, I think for what it is, I dug this movie. I'm not sure if it'll necessarily make my top 10 by the end of the year.
Yeah,
but so it's a big year.
It's in
the top 10 as of right now.
And as next week will show, we got Godzilla Kong. So anything could be on your top 10 list.
Like,
if you don't want to see it, I'm not going to make you. But
if I have time, I'll see it.
Okay,
because I think it'll be a fun I think
it's a fun thing to talk about.
I think this movie was great because it's rare that there's a movie we both like where we can like really go into it. I think this is that kind of movie where usually we can like really rip apart a bad movie. So Godzilla and Kong could be a fun one to rip apart with you.
Hell yeah.
But it's also, this is on par with Ghostbusters to me in terms of like, I just don't fucking care.
Okay. Well, I'm also,
we'll see. No promises.
I'm gonna see Immaculate as well, and I'll talk about it next week. So if you want to see that instead, if you don't want to see Kong, but I think Godzilla X Kong will be a fun topic.
I'm excited to see Immaculate, but I think I'm more inclined to see Immaculate than Godzilla vs. Kong.
Well,
we'll see.
Whatever works for your schedule, that's what it will be.
There'll be like 2 showings of Immaculate, but 40 showings of Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, probably. So. Well, I actually, I said Late Night with the Devil is probably going to be the number 1 movie. It's not. It's going to be Immaculate. The amount of advertisement for this movie, and Sydney Sweeney is the up and coming hot rising star, so everybody's loving her. Horror movie. Yeah, I think that'll be the number 1. I would love to see if Ghostbusters wasn't 3 out of all these, and it just never went higher than that. That'd be great.
I'm pretty sure Immaculate's rated R, but this I think I was just gonna say, I wonder if it had been rated PG-13, would it do better?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that's it. Short and sweet. If you want to get in contact with us, we are at WRPLpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Threads, Instagram, TikTok. Hit us up with any questions, comments. Hit us up with any questions, comments, or concerns. As always, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
And you must keep consuming.
Hail Abraxas.